moving this flavor with the homies Blackstreet and Teddy, the original milkshake.
Hi everybody, and thanks for coming to our production of the HIV monologues instead of going to the Christmas market. And we're competing with them. So my name is Lisa, and I'm the director of Neat's production of the HIV monologues. Now, when I said I was going to put the show on, I thought because of the nature of the topic that I would find it really difficult to find people to work with me on it. And that wasn't the case. So I was really, really positively surprised and extremely humbled by, the cast and the talent that I had this amazing opportunity to work with. And I really, really mean that. There are people in the show, I think, how could I possibly direct those people? And it's just been amazing working with them. Not only are they really talented, but they're really, really committed to bringing over the message of the show. So I've been really surprised. I thought it would be difficult to find people, but not only have I found incredibly talented people, but also very committed people as well. This isn't an ordinary show, okay? So because of the topic, it's a topic that's affected our entire generation in one way or another. We've all grown up with this topic, and I've noticed something really interesting happened during our whole rehearsal period, is that we started becoming more and more familiar and comfortable talking about it, that we started sharing our own stories and the touch points that we have had in our own personal lives with HIV itself, AIDS, and topics surrounding that. And we've been sharing a lot of really interesting stories. We haven't felt any shame about it, and it's not all been morbid as well. We've had a lot of good laughs. And for example, now I know how to say in German and Greek and other languages the word sphincter. And it was a challenge for me tonight that they gave me to integrate that word into tonight's speech. So. So HIV, it's this play. It takes us through the whole journey of HIV from the shock of the 1980s, when it was a shock, and when HIV would inevitably lead to AIDS and premature death, and it takes us from there and to where we are today, due to medical breakthroughs, advances in medicine, where we are today, where people can live long and healthy lives, regardless of their HIV status, where women can have healthy babies, regardless of their HIV status, and where men and where women can have relationships, long-lasting partnerships with each other, regardless of their HIV status. So it takes us through that entire journey. And of course, this is only possible because of the breakthroughs and the advances in medicine. And of course, we can only benefit from those advances in medicine if we know about them. And unfortunately, there is still a lot of misinformation out there. There are a lot of people suffering unnecessarily because they don't know about the breakthroughs, and because of the shame and the stigma that goes with this topic. People are very reluctant to talk about that. And so because of that, people don't get tested, they maybe don't know things, they might not know other prevention strategies. So, there's a lot of people suffering unnecessarily. And of course, some groups are being more stigmatized than others. This play has an LGBT focus, but as we know, that's not the only group of people who are affected by this. We're all affected by it, so it's up to us all to talk about it. And with this play, what we want to do is just try to encourage people to talk about it without fear of shame, without stigma, and we want to do our bit to contribute to a society where people can talk, have open and honest conversations about this without fear of discrimination, just like how we were having in our rehearsal room. So, but first and foremost, we are here to entertain. And so on that note, I'd like to say sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
just my type. Tall, dark, and rocking a Sex Festival pair of Levi's 501s. Thank you, Tinder. All is forgiven. I put on this James Dean crouch thrusting swagger and start walking towards the bar, and then give up halfway because I look bow-legged.
Alex?
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Nick!
Hi.
Would you like a drink?
Sure, I'd love a sex on the beach. Extra strong.
Okay.
The new barman does not know what goes into sex on the beach. Neither does Nick, and nor do I. But obviously, I cannot admit that. So after picking a random bunch of spirits and hoping for the best, while the barman is mixing the drink, Nick and I are standing at the bar in complete silence. I have nothing to say. I have never known a word in my life. Besides, what is a word? Maybe that could be a good icebreaker. So, no, that would be just weird.
Do you want a pack of crisps?
No thanks. I mean, it leaves all the residue in my teeth that you have to pick, so no crisp for me.
Okay, yes.
So, how is it like to work in tax?
Everybody's childhood dream. What it's like to be an actor.
Rewarding. Very, very rewarding. Just not financially. I mean, not at the moment, but it's not like I'm standing in a bread line or something. I'm a month behind my rent and living literally off baked beans. But you know, I've got an audition tomorrow in a hospital.
Do you get many auditions in a hospital?
No, sorry, but the writer and the piece that he sent over is about love and flowers, and he's dying, and it's also beautiful. And as a serious actor, I just can't stay away from grief, tragedy, devastation. He's not checking out my muscles. I think my vest is not slutty enough. I knew I should have put on the power bottom singlet.
I'd like to see you act.
Fuck it. Let's go wild and get some crisp.
Okay.
After an utterly revolting cocktail later, memo to myself, Baileys mixed with orange juice makes the drink curdle. And I'm literally giving a blowjob to my straw and looking into Nick's eyes. And I realize we have discovered mutual passion. Harry Potter,
Britney.
gay porn, basically husband material. You know what I've always wondered? Would Dumbledore be a top or a bottom?
Isn't he like 600 years old? He should be into kink by now.
Oh, wouldn't you have loved so much to be at Hogwarts?
I worried I'd be selected as a Slytherin.
No, you'd totally be a Gryffindor.
Because I'm tall?
No, because you helped your sister through her cancer, which makes you noble. And you gave the money to the homeless guy outside, which makes you kind.
That's the sweetest thing I've heard in a long while.
Babes, I've got sweet running through me like stick off a rock.
I've never met somebody that I had this instant connection with.
Oh my God. Is he falling in love with me over a bottle of Pinot Grigio and 2 packets of crisp? That's fast, even by gay standards. And then I ask myself, do I feel in love with him? He does have beautiful eyelashes, but is that the reason to spend a lifetime with somebody? Honestly, I could think of worse.
I have to tell you something.
I'm conjuring visions of our honeymoon hand in hand on sandy beaches of Hawaii. Or Bournemouth, depending on how many acting jobs have come by.
I'm HIV positive.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't get my finger out of his grasp. Is he transmitting it to me through his fingers? Is that even possible? I try and remember what I had learned about HIV in school. He's looking at me intently for a response.
Oh, I was only diagnosed last week. I thought I shouldn't come on this date, but I was hoping to meet somebody who understood. It's funny how you feel. 7 years ago, I was this fresh-faced 20-year-old just arrived in London, and how did that boy end up with an incurable disease?
Incurable disease?
No, but when you reach rock bottom, you can either lose yourself getting wasted, or you can go forwards and try to use this diagnosis as a catalyst for a better life. And I wanted to tell you before we went back and did anything.
Go back and do anything? Thank you. I need to use the bathroom. I'll be back. Does he expect me to have sex with him? I know condoms are only 99% effective. I remember seeing it in a Friends episode. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I've got shit all idea about this. And what if he tries to kiss me? I swear I remember somebody saying in the East Block smoking lounge, "You can't pick it up from kissing." But my memory is all hazy, and all I feel is fear. But then a eureka moment dawns upon me. I will just climb up the bathroom window and run away. Climbing up to the window requires gymnastic-like navigation. I step on the beam and then step on the hand dryer until I could reach the window, swing my leg out, swing my arm out, and my shoulder, and I'm stuck. Actually, it's a very painful position. Every time I try to move out, the window catch presses against my ball sack. It's excruciatingly painful. There's nothing like it. Help! Help!
What are you doing?
I slipped on paper towel.
You were trying to get away, weren't you?
No. What gives you that idea?
Trying to climb out the bathroom window.
Perhaps you can give me a hand.
Oh, fuck you!
Well, I guess I deserved that. The next morning, I walked through the light-filled hospital atrium, walking down the second floor ward to Barney's room. A nurse points me towards him. I can see him. He looks very old, and he looks very sick. I'm from Spotlight. I'm,
Eric.
no, I'm Alex.
Alex. Yes, of course. From Spotlight.
Pink orchids.
You liked the speech?
I adored it.
Mini cupcake?
Thank you. They look delicious.
So you find me here with complications living with HIV.
Oh my God.
I don't suppose you come to many auditions in a hospital.
Not that many.
But you do look like him.
Like who?
Like Eric. This is what he looked like before he fell ill. I've written a play about our lives.
So you want me to play somebody with HIV?
Yes. Are you positive?
Of course not. I mean, I'm just not the kind of a person who'd get HIV.
And what kind of a person is that?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Look, the play is being funded by the Elton John AIDS Foundation, so there's quite a generous fee involved. But you do understand, I'm looking to cast someone who has an appreciation for the issues.
Barney, the topic of HIV is very close to my heart. Just the other day, my boyfriend Nick was diagnosed positive.
Really?
Yes, and I remember what he said. He said this diagnosis could be a reason for him to stay at the bottom and lose himself to getting wasted, or this could serve as a catalyst to move forward and love himself even more.
And have you been supporting him through this difficult time?
Oh, absolutely, in every possible way. The next morning, I'm filled with shame and consider calling the whole thing off. But then I open a letter from my bank showing I'm 35 pounds over my overdraft limit. I start walking towards Barney's room and I see a nurse preparing his bed.
Jesus, Mary, and fucking Joseph, I thought it's a ghost.
Where is Barney?
He's moved on, love.
What? Moved on? Moved on? But he had so much more to give.
He's been moved down the corridor, darling.
You mean he's not dead?
No. With any luck, Barney will be with us for many more years to come. It's uncanny, though. There's something about you. You're the picture of Eric.
Who was he?
They were at his door again. I spotted the doctor on the right, fancied himself something rotten he did. And now there they were, brazen as he like, whispering and pointing through the window. I counted to 60 like the sisters would counsel, but the anger was still there and I tipped over like mussels out of a pot. Get away from there! They looked at me like I was Mary Magdalene herself.
We were just looking.
You were just looking? Have you no shame? He's not an animal in the zoo. The one who fancied himself looked down at his feet. I had no real place to be, a young uppity nurse like myself telling him off.
Sorry.
The one who fancied himself looked back before turning around the corner. Never trust the good-looking ones. That's what my mom always said. Not that I listened. Then I went into the boys' room. He was just skin and bones, drowning in his hospital gown. If my mom had seen him, she'd been marching into the hospital with a stew to put the meat back on his body. A mop of curly dark hair, and sleeping, he had a face almost angelic. A fallen angel, anyhow. I was about to leave him in peace when he opened his eyes and fixed me with a stare like cornflowers in a meadow. Can I get you anything, darling?
I could murder a mojito.
That might be beyond the NHS budget.
Oh, come on, I'll give you the money. Just a splash of rum, some limes and sugar. We're in business.
You're supposed to be sick.
Exactly. Drink is wasted on the healthy.
He didn't look more than a babe. I'd find out later, 21.
What's your name?
Irene.
Irene. I'm Eric, and all I want in this world is a mojito.
Absolutely not.
Imagine if I bought my clothes tonight, Irene, and you never granted me my dying wish.
I was looking for somewhere to crush the ice. The shopkeeper winked at me when I went to get the rum. It's not for me, I said. It never is, love, he said. What a shame of it. So I ran into a stock cupboard, I picked up an old defibrillator and began whacking the ice on the floor. And suddenly, the one who fancied himself walked in and looked at me, the defibrillator, and the leaking bag of ice.
Bad moments.
After I'd done my round of the wards, I went to sit with him for 5 minutes. He was slurping the last of his drink through a straw.
Never had a mojito with basil before, Irene.
Get away with you, cheeky booger.
You know, I was supposed to start a new job this week.
Oh, really? What'd you work as?
Just a waiter.
My uncle was a waiter. Good, honest profession.
Ugh. I want to be a dancer.
What kind of dancer?
Western. My boyfriend is writing a show.
Well, I have to get front row tickets.
I'll get you too.
That's awful nice of you. Well, and it's awful nice to make someone a mojito. I glanced around at his meager collection of belongings. A picture of a man with broad shoulders and a warm smile. A book on dance. Some wilted flowers. And a plate of perfect little mini cupcakes. Those look nice.
Oh, my boyfriend made it for me.
Ooh, wish I had a boyfriend like that.
You will do. You're too nice not to.
Lots of people back home wouldn't agree.
Trouble, are you?
As much as you are.
Good. We're both trouble. Do you want one?
Delicious. What's wrong? What's wrong?
Everyone else said no.
In the canteen that night, I was looking for news on Manchester United. Always reminded me of my dad. Most Irish players on an English team. Then I saw the headline. Britain threatened by gay plague. It made my blood boil. It made me wonder, how could that writer lay his head on its pillow at night? I wanted to write in and say, come see that boy in his bed, and you tell me with a clear conscience that he brought it upon himself. He without sin throw the first stone. I went into his room to find the man with the warm smile, arranging a big bouquet of beautiful bright flowers. I was about to excuse myself when I heard Eric say,
This is my favorite. Irene.
Irene, I'm Barney.
"You're the lucky one."
Oh, yes.
No, I'm the lucky one. Irene, Barney doesn't want my coffee to make it another one bites the dust.
Ducky, I just don't think it's appropriate.
Oh, come on, can you just picture it now? All those Daily Mail relations on my father's side expecting Jerusalem, and then the bus kicks in. I'd love to still be here just to see this picture.
Everything's a joke to you, isn't it?
Well, what do you do if you don't laugh, Irene? Barney, Irene was going to come and see the show.
She can still come and see the show, Ducky.
She wants front row seats.
Absolutely.
Irene, promise me, you won't be disappointed.
Now, what would I be disappointed about?
That I won't be in it.
I promise. His ma rushed to his side, but his dad stayed at the edge of his bed and hung back. He hung back with his arms dangling at his side like he didn't know what God had given him limbs for. I walked in as he was handing him a card from my workmates.
It's not leukemia, Dad. It's AIDS.
I rang my ma in Dublin that night. She was full of the local gossip.
So she said, I'm not taking advice on the colour of my front door from someone named after the tart from Fleetwood Mac. And I said, that's no way talking about Stevie Fitzgerald at number 37, even though it was rumoured she once opened the door to the garter in her knickerbockers. And Roisin at number 53 says, did she not mean you, Rhiannon? And I said, dear Lord above.
Are you not going to ask me how I am, Ma?
Are you?
I told her of Eric and how we feared the virus was taking control of his brain. She listened quietly before saying,
Father O'Carey says, AIDS is the wrath of God.
do you ever see Angeline?
Who's Angeline?
You know who Angeline is.
That baby did not have a name.
She did. I named her.
She was a bastard, born in sin.
She was my baby. His CD4 counts had dropped to 200, an AIDS diagnosis. The lesions on his hands had spread to his arm and down to his lower back. He developed shingles on his phrenic nerve so that he would be racked by coughs like a cloth wrung over water. The one who fancied himself told me it was a matter of weeks that I could just try to make him comfortable. I walked in to find Barney helping him into a shirt. What in God's damn nation do you think you're doing?
I'm going to Pride, Irene.
Outside it was a lovely sunny Saturday. He was caught unexpectedly in a ray of midday sun, and suddenly his illness melted away. As he glowed for a moment, radiant, a young, beautiful man setting out on the path of life. I helped him down the fire exit. I never knew who took them off, but on the Monday morning, there were people outside the hospital doors. When I saw they were holding cameras, I felt knives twisting my stomach. As I drew closer, white lights flashed around me.
Is it true the hospital let out a late-stage AIDS patient? Why would you endanger the public?
A million thoughts raced through my mind. I would be struck off. I was going to have to return to Dublin with my tail between my legs. I ignored them and fought my way through the hospital doors until at the top of the stairs, one of them shouted,
Have you no shame?
Shame? Shame? You wouldn't know the meaning of the word. I'll tell you what shame is. Shame is writing about scared men like they're devils. Shame is spreading your lies and your filth and your hate without a hint of penance between you. Look at you. Shame is being blessed with your strength and your power and your health and standing outside a hospital door to attack a boy who is dying. Shame is carved on your faces like a scar. I walked into the hospital doors my heart hammering against my rib like it might break my bone. Inside, the one who fancied himself came over and touched my shoulder and then kissed me softly on my cheek. My last image of Eric was on a late July afternoon. The setting sun filled the room with a golden rush as dust motes floated in the light. He couldn't move for himself independently, and the virus would hook him into a fetal position. I looked through the window and saw Barney helping him and very gently brushing his teeth for him. I drew the curtains and left them their privacy together.
Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending, no beginning, on an ever-spinning reel, like a snowball down a mountain, or a carnival balloon, like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. Like a tunnel that you follow to a tunnel of its own, down a hollow to a cavern where the sun has never shone, like a door that keeps revolving in a half-forgotten dream, or the ripples from a pebble someone tosses in a stream, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. Keys the jingle in your pocket, words the jangle in your head. Why did summer go so quickly? Was it something that you said? Lovers walk along a shore and leave their footprints in the sand. Is the sound of distant drumming just the fingers of your hand? Pictures hanging in a hallway and the fragment of a song. Half-remembered names and faces, but to whom did they belong? When you knew that it was over, in the autumn of goodbyes, for a moment you could not recall the color of his eye.
And I just don't understand why he would climb out the window.
It's an extreme reaction. How did it make you feel?
I couldn't care less.
That's a strong mentality.
I'm Titania. I went home and sent unsolicited news to every hornet profile I could find.
And did that make you feel any better?
No. I'm giving sex up forever. Look at these messages on my phone. Lube me up and drew in me like a Roman villa. And then this one. Destroy me with your weapon of mass decoction.
Well, you've got to give him credit. He's put some thought into that one.
expelliarmus me with your elder one. And that's from the guy who was trying to get out of the bathroom window.
He's changed his mind then?
He messaged me yesterday saying if Brittany can get through 2007, I can get through zero discordant dating.
And did you reply?
No, I hate him!
You've been talking about it for quite a while, though.
He confirmed my biggest fear. When I got the diagnosis, my first thought was, I'm never going to find a boyfriend now. I just feel I don't deserve love.
Nick, just because you're HIV positive doesn't make you any less worthy of love. We've caught the virus early with medication. Your viral load is already undetectable physically. You'll be in excellent health. What I want you to concentrate on is your mentality, though. Look, there's an event called the HIV Conversation tomorrow night. An outspoken HIV patient will be talking about their life. Perhaps you'll find it beneficial to listen.
Thanks. Oh, if I do see this guy again, what do you think I should say?
Well, you give him the words of one of the greatest philosophers of our time.
What's that?
You better work, bitch.
I struggled through the Friday afternoon spreadsheets at work. I told my line manager I had a dentist's appointment in the afternoon. How am I going to excuse all the future concerns and appointments? I look over at Ian, backslapping Colin with a loud laugh. Could I tell him about my HIV? His face when I told him I was gay. I'm sure that's why I got passed over by promotion. Because Colin goes for the monthly coke and wank at the Spamming Rhinos. Yeah. I can't tell Ian. I swing by my dealer's bridge in London after work. I was worried you'd given up, Nicky boy. He smiles up at me lying on his unmade bed in his boxers, surrounded by baggies and a pair of scales. I look down at my hands and what swims beneath the skin. How do you know, I say? Special occasion. He winks and blows me a kiss. It's oddly comforting stroking the baggie in my pocket. Now I've made the decision, my nostrils are itching for the sting, but first I head to the Soho gyms. I work my upper body until lactic acid is eating into my biceps and I can no longer physically lift the weights. My pecs ache with erect glory as the sweat pours off me. I take about 100 topless selfies in the changing room mirror and then spend 20 minutes agonizing over them until I choose one for my Facebook profile picture. As I'm walking towards Kubar, I can feel my phone vibrating in my pocket with the likes and comments. I sip a glass of wine as I scroll through the likes. Oh, 30 already. The comments say, marry me. Perfect. Oh, dreamboat. I begin to feel wanted until I suddenly think, would they still say that if they knew? Halfway through the second glass of wine, hurtling towards 60 likes, I wonder if George has seen it. I search for his profile and a holiday pic pops up of him with his new boyfriend. It looks like he's doing his sex face. I scowl and throw the phone down on the bar. I feel like messaging him, "You ruined my life!" Then I pick up the phone, reopen Facebook and leave the comment. It looks like you're doing your sex face. Which makes me feel marginally better. I tipsily walk up from Kubar to Circa, rubbing the baggie, when I start thinking of Alex. And then the anger rises. apologizes again. It's just so unfair. Out of all the guys I fucked after I found out George was cheating on me, all those shags who fell into my arms and my bed, Alex felt like a connection. Busy Friday night, Soho swirls round me in laughter and shrieks and revelry. And in all those people, I feel completely alone. I'm so lost in thought that I don't notice Louis until he slaps my ass and says, "What's a nice girl like you doing with a butt like this?" I look at his smiling face and begin to cry. Louis is French and has a laissez-faire attitude to emotions. He drags me to the Dean Street townhouse where he orders a bottle of Côte du Rhône and we sit on the terrace as he listens. I'm not used to him listening, as all I've known Louis to do in conversation before is speak as fast as a Kalashnikov. It dawns to me that there are two sides to every coin. And I have no idea how I'm going to tell my parents. I say, it's like coming out as gay again, but worse. He blows out a plume of smoke. A week, a month, a year, it's your choice. I watch Dean Street bustle by in late evening sun. You know, it's funny, I say, as I accepted a cigarette. I did everything expected of me. I went to university, I got a job that pays well, I found a perfect boyfriend. I even got myself a mortgage. But I never truly valued myself. Not enough to want to protect myself, not enough to protect my lovers, not enough to wear a condom. Then, 2016, July 30th, I was diagnosed HIV positive. And I found that I did have that lust for life. Too late. Louis says, no, not too late. Trust me. Look at him. Are you? Yeah. 6 years. You have to name it. Name it? You're going to be living with this forever. If you make it an enemy, you'll be never at peace. Name it. Own it. What did you call yours? Louis waves an expansive hand. Baby, what else? Paris Hilton. I take the tube home and sit in the shadows of my living room, staring at the mephedrone. The profile picture has soared past 200 likes now. I scroll through all those names, all those identikit topless profile pictures, all those clicks of validation, and feel blank. Then I see Alex's name and feel a strange shimmer of reaction. I decide to take a shower. As I'm rubbing the soap into my hair and cleansing my body, the demons descend to dance with the water steam. I will never be able to wash away this dirt inside my body. I'm not good enough. How could anybody truly want me when I don't even want myself? I sit down to the floor of the bath and sit with my head hung between my legs until I hear Dr. Eris's voice saying, "You are not any worthy less of love." I open my eyes. I see the crust of orange mold that has formed along the edge of the bath. The shower curtain is caked with dirt. Hairs and empty toiletries are scattered across the bathroom. The bin is overflowing with old toilet rolls, and the mirror is a mosaic of white spots from where I floss. I stop the shower, put plug out pumping through the flat, then return to the bathroom. It takes an hour, but I clear off the orange mold. I take down the shower curtain and put it to wash. I clear the floor, I clean the mirror. Then I go into the kitchen. I do the 2 weeks worth of washing up that's piled across the center and the counter. I scrub the blackened oven door until you can see it's transparent again. I take out the rubbish and the colony of fruit flies that have started living there. I hover the carpet. I wipe away the dust and the stains that have collected on the walls. When the whole flat is clean, I strip off the bed, stained with the fluids of months of men, and collapse into the freshness of new, spotless sheets. For the first time since my diagnosis, I sleep unperturbed by dreams of swimming alone in the Walusian. I luxuriate in the morning light for a moment before I'm suddenly gripped with pure horror as I remember the sex face comment and shoot up to delete it. I find that George has blocked me. And oddly, that feels like a release. I can no longer post bitchy pop justice articles about Christina Aguilera's career in the vague hope that I'm still communicating with him. I spend the day messaging old friends who I've neglected, asking to catch up. Before I leave in the evening, I take the methadone baggie and empty its contents into the toilet. The HIV conversation is held in the Medicinema, with its array of rainbow-colored seats. The guy who's being interviewed is apparently some famous writer called Barney, and the place is pretty packed. I'm looking for a seat when I lock eyes with his blue gaze at the end of the row. Alex. He smiles tentatively. I nod cautiously. There's an empty seat next to him. As I sit down, Barney begins to speak.
After Eric's death, I felt like I was missing a part of myself. But I couldn't cry. Have you ever seen The Never-Ending Story, that 80s kids film? I felt so shortchanged by it. It's only 90 minutes long. Yet in it, there was this creeping gray nothingness consuming the land, and that was me. A locked box. Not that you'd have thought it, dearie. At his wake, I was dancing to Queen, downing mojitos, and snorting all the builder's cocaine I could fit my great greedy nostrils about. It's what he would have wanted! I shouted to his bewildered relatives on the father's side like some dragged-up Marie Antoinette of Greece. James Hopkins Clinic couldn't organize an embalming in a funeral parlor, so I transferred my care to where all self-respecting queens go, Chelsea and Westminster. I nurtured rather a crush on my new consultant, even though he clearly fancied himself. Could have sworn he was a sister of Dorothy if it hadn't been for the ring on his finger. Although that doesn't mean much up Hampstead way. But he was rather more serious.
I'm afraid it's not great news, Barney. Your CD4 counts have fallen. I'd advise medical retirement. We can help you sort out your disability living allowance, although it's important to remain active. Are you okay?
Darling, I'm just trying to memorize this feeling. It'd be awfully good for the play.
There's always the Concord trial.
No, I will not have the drug companies gambling with my life. I mean, I've heard what happened in America.
Those are rumors.
Look, I respect you, Dr. Eros, but I don't want AZT.
Well, we'll see if you can tolerate Septrin. And if that takes care of the pneumonia, we'll get you on acyclovir for the rest.
I made a living will that I didn't want to be resuscitated. I ran a steaming hot bath, placed the knife on the side, and in a moment of camp that I, to this day, claim was simply inspired by Edith Piaf, I put on her Je ne regrette rien to bow out. Edith was reaching her crescendo. I had the knife at my wrist when I suddenly realized how much my mother's son I was. How could I let somebody else clear up my mess? I simply couldn't bear the thought of it, Ducky. So, if one couldn't kill oneself, one had to live, didn't one? So I joined the St. Stephen's Volunteers, who held weekly tea parties in the waiting room. I baked up a mean set of mini cupcakes using Eric's mother's secret recipe. Blew that other queen's chocolate brownies out of the water. Oh, she was livid, Ducky, livid. I said, don't go near the milk with that face, it'll curdle. Years after I had begun, there was this young, pregnant African woman. I remember she was wearing the traditional garb with golds and purples, and it was like something you'd never seen, and I thought it just looked fabulous. And I said, what's your name, darling? And would you believe what she answered?
Generosity.
Generosity? Don't go telling anyone down at the bar that. You won't get out alive with your purse. Generosity, I'm Barney. Now tell me all about yourself. Spliff ends in a cemetery. I mean, I'm all for spliffs, but there is a time and a place, Ducky. I mean, oh, don't be doing that in your condition. My God, you'll pop. Here, come on, lean up against the gravestone. Oh. Oh. But I must say, this is quite a nice place for a spliff, actually.
Do you miss him?
Yes, but I haven't cried in over 10 years. Does that make me an awful person?
No, Barney. Everybody processes grief in different ways.
Are you scared of dying?
Not as much as I'm scared of my child having HIV, and I can't talk to anybody about it.
You can talk to me about it. Really, anytime.
Thanks, Barney.
But you know what's worse? The boredom.
Boredom? Get a garden.
A garden?
Yes. With a garden, you're always growing life, and you never get bored.
And what about if you live on the top floor flat, Ducky?
Then you make your windowsill the prettiest garden in town.
Yeah.
Tell me about him.
I wouldn't know where to start.
What were your favorite stories?
Well, there was this one time, and you won't believe this, but the nurse, she came up to him in the hospital, and she says, can I get you anything? And Eric says to her, I could murder a mojito. We'd been talking for some time when my alarm beeped. Oh, it's time. Let's see if these new tricks are worth their salt. I withdrew a little pot of honey because at the time the pills were monsters, and I mean, I can open my jaw quite wide. Practice makes perfect. But you still needed a little bit of lubricant for the throat. Oh, come on, Ducky, I said to her as she laid a thin drizzle upon hers. Be awful painful down the mine shaft using that approach. And we knocked him back and swallowed. When Generosity, she began to choke. She was clutching at her throat and her eyes began to stream with water. Well, I had to do the Heimlich maneuver right there in the cemetery. A one, a two, a three. And bang! It came out. But at the same time, she clutched my arm and she said,
Granny, my waters are breaking.
oh, I mean, we were halfway up a cemetery hill. Didn't have a mobile in those days, Ducky. I screamed at a dog walker, call an ambulance! And then I sat down with her by Eric's grave, and do you know what? I felt curiously calm. I removed her undergarments and mopped her sweating brow with my shirt, and I said, oh, come on, Ducky, don't panic. And occasionally said, push, push, because I'd seen them do it on the telly. And when sirens were finally beginning to sound through the graves, I remember the sun had almost completely set, and I knelt between her legs and gently, ever so gently, because I was scared of harming anything, I pulled out a screaming, blood-covered ball of life. A week after the birth, I dropped into the little garden shop on the street corner, played light jazz, and had stone busts of a rather draggy-looking Aphrodite. I instantly loved it and wandered through the trailing foliage. In one corner, they had an array of the most gorgeous pink orchids. I remembered how much Eric had loved them, and I bent down to inhale one flower scent. As the sweetness of its smell touched my brain, suddenly I was there in the hospital with Eric again, putting orchids by his bedside. And then I was with him much earlier, suited at a wedding, as he made me breathe their smell and whispered in my ear, they were his favorite flower. And then I was overwhelmed with this memory that I had stored so carefully inside myself. The night I met him in the rain outside that club, his fingers running lightly over my chest as he told me my heart beat fast. And I'd answered, it beats fast because you're here. When he made a joke and looked to make sure I smiled, and his smile glimpsed only for me across a crowded room. When I suddenly realized I was in love with this fast-talking boy full of light and life, and without warning, there in that garden store, The tears began to fall in hot, salty drops upon the orchids, and I could no longer control myself. As great, harrowing sobs of grief racked from my body. Out into the air, the light jazz, the flowers in bloom, and the world that still turned without him with me.
Nick and I take refuge at the bar, next to an enormous vase of pink orchids. Apparently, the whole club has been filled with pink orchids. It seems Elton's expense account has been revived with the florist.
Good party.
That's what you get when Elton John AIDS Foundation sponsors your play.
It's an important play.
Was it difficult for you to watch any of it?
Some of it. But you're a great actor.
Thanks, Nick. Nick, listen, I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
We watched the crowd tinkle and smile, sip and swell in their finery. And out there amongst them could be any number of agents, writers, producers, and directors. And I know I should be networking, but tonight I don't want to be with anybody else but this man next to me. Nick nods to an elegant gray-haired gentleman next to Irene.
Do you think my consultant fancies himself?
Not as much as he fancies her. We see Barney leading a kind-looking African woman and her daughter through the crowd. I catch his eye and wink, and he winks back. And suddenly, I reach out my arm for Nick's cheek, and I grab his hand and I lead him, or as some would say, drag him to the upper level of heaven, which is closed off for the party.
Where are we going?
Each time he asks, I stop and kiss him, champagne drunk, against the sticky wall of heaven. It's like being horny teenagers, until I lead him into the toilet at the top level. I'm undoing his shirt buttons, and he says,
Come on, Alex, do you really want our grandkids to know that we had our first sexual encounter at the toilets of heaven?
I cannot ever imagine a situation where we'd share this information with them. I grab his hand and put on my ass because I know it would feel great through his suit trousers. And I can feel his resistance weakening and him stiffening in response to my kiss. And he says again,
I haven't got any condoms with me.
In response to that, I pull out a blue pill out of my coat pocket.
I already have taken my medication today.
It's not for you, it's for me. And I put the Truvada in his mouth and go ahead and kiss him as I fish the pill out and swallow. I'm hoping that he undoes my belt buckle when he says again,
How long have you been on PrEP?
Since I bought it online from India.
Online? From India?
It's pure. I've got it tested.
But it doesn't protect against anything else. And no, nothing that you can
Have
actually...
you got anything else?
No.
So stop killing the moment, man. Let's fuck. can imagine, feels fully hard now. And as I release him from his trousers, he finally gets in the mood. Turning me around and dragging my own trousers down, I smile as he parts my legs and rubs the shaft of his cock up between my buttocks. Each time the shaft touches my asshole, it causes a swell in my own cock. His kissing and nuzzling at my neck, his hands still holding my hips, when he murmurs,
Have you got any lube?
given I put some planning into this seduction, I obviously came prepared. And within moments, I'm gasping at the cold liquid as his fingers gently rub into me. And then Nick is pushing into me, and I relax onto him until the initial gasp of penetration. And suddenly, Nick is inside me, and part of me, and around me, skin on skin, as I look around with my mouth to find his hot lips, as he pushes further in, and he begins to fuck me. And the pleasure is building as he reaches for my cock with his fingers, still covered in lube, and wraps his other arm around my chest to pull me closer against him. And the sensation flows up in waves up my legs as I feel my orgasm rushing and my sphincter contract and tighten around him. And he whispers in my ear,
I'm going to come.
come inside me. And we orgasm there in the toilets at the top of the heaven together. Back at the main party, Nick and I hold our hands while we watch the crowd go by. We don't say a thing to each other, just occasionally grin at each other in our shared wicked knowledge. And for the first time, I realize I feel quite happy. I'm trying to get us 2 glasses of champagne more from the bar as we realize that Barney is heading our way.
Hey, Alex, you've done it again.
Hey,
Great
Barney.
job. I couldn't have asked for a better after.
Thanks, Barney. Thank you for taking a chance on me.
Is this the boyfriend?
Nick.
I don't know. Am I?
You mean he hasn't told you? Oh, Alex, I've said it once and I'll say it again. You are just too selfless. So look, when he first came for his first audition, he told me about how he was helping you through the diagnosis. And well, helping me, it just really flashed me.
With my diagnosis.
Nick, I could explain. Nick, wait! Nick, wait! I chase after him. I race after him out the doors of heaven, down the embankment tube, up the stairs of Hungerford Bridge, with its white spires and the sun setting down along Thames. I reach my hand out to grab his. Nick, please! But he keeps on running across the bridge while we're at the middle of the bridge, that I cannot go further. Nick, I lied. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. A group of Japanese tourists seem to be interested in our altercation. Fucking tourists. We could hear a busker playing down the bridge. Every little thing's gonna be alright. But I'm just staring at Nick's back. Nick, I never thought I'd see you again.
Is that get better?
No, but I'm still trying to learn to be the man that I want to be. And now the Japanese tourists start taking pictures.
You don't know. You don't know what it's like having HIV.
I move closer to him and he doesn't move away. Now, another group of tourists join the Japanese. I think they are Brazilians. I can see Nick's eyes. They are full of water. Nick, I do not know what is it to have HIV, but I do know what's HIV. HIV is our sex. HIV has been our sex since the 1980s. HIV has been the specter and the boogeyman living in the shadows of our bedroom. HIV laces every kiss and lends fear to every caress. HIV is the guilt and anxiety of not using a condom. HIV isolates and divides us. HIV is loneliness. HIV is always there for us, whether negative, afraid of getting it, or positive, afraid of giving it. And it is so powerful that the other night I ran away from it when I realized I may be falling in love with the man who had it.
Isn't that a speech from the play?
Kind of. Nick. But I want to be the man who can help you with your diagnosis. Because I don't want to miss on any opportunities for happiness in this world. Nick pauses. I could feel his heart pulsing. He turns away. And I could hear the busker play, "Baby, every little thing is gonna be alright."